In this episode of the Read Option Podcast, we're talking about David Johnson retiring, what a successful season for the teams in the NFC East would look like, and who the top 5 wide receiver cores are in the NFL. Enjoy.
Dalton steps up. It's complete. Remarkable.
Cut back outside right 30, 35, 40. Down the far sideline. He's still moving. It's going to go.
Pass is caught. Diggs. Sideline. Touchdown. Unbelievable.
Read Option Podcast, episode 14, coming at you hot. Today is really nice. I mean, it's hot as hell, but like in our opinion, it's really nice because we love the heat.
Finally,
finally.
we hit 80. Beautiful day, beautiful, supposed to be a beautiful week.
Yeah.
So totally loving the change in seasons from winter. We had no spring. We just went right into summer. So,
but totally fine with me. I had 2 shoots today, both of them indoors, but I got to walk from the car to the area that we were shooting inside of, and I was like, it's so nice out.
Yeah, totally loving it.
And then after work, I had the AC on the whole time at work, so I'm like, a little chilly. Then I go outside and you get that blast of heat wave, and you're like,
air.
It's amazing. It's like that feels great. Going from the heat to the cold outside is no bueno.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. I love the hot weather. That's why we're planning on relocating to South Carolina at some point in the near future. But
speaking of South Carolina, David Johnson has nothing to do with South Carolina, but
not sure about the segue, but okay.
David Johnson is our first segment today. We're talking about David Johnson retires. When he was good for that one season, one of my favorite players to watch, to be honest. He was like electric. It was awesome. He was really good. Really one of the biggest what ifs, or as you said earlier, one hit wonders of the NFL.
Unfortunately.
If he stayed healthy, maybe he's kind of like a what if. But like he had that one really crazy and also he had his, like, if you remember, or if I remember correctly, he had the end of his rookie season, like the last like maybe 10 games, he was really good. And that was where they kind of phased him into the offense.
Yep.
Then the next year after that, he was nuts. I think 1,200 yards rushing, 16 rushing touchdowns, 80 catches for like 800 yards and 4 receiving touchdowns.
Yeah.
He was a monster.
Yep. He had a few other decent seasons, but he was always hurt after that 2016. He hadn't played since 2022. Even then, only a handful of touches. Man, that one season was wow. I mean, anytime you can get a back that catches 80 passes and runs for 1,200 yards, 2,100 total from scrimmage.
Yeah.
Oh man, he was absolutely electric that year. No,
it was
doubt
awesome.
about it.
Yeah, and you mentioned to me, I totally forgot to put this in the notes, but Devontae Parker is also retired.
Devontae Parker, yeah. So not quite. He also had one good season, 72 for 1,209 touchdowns. Never really caught up to that potential at all.
Nah.
A bunch of 40 and 50
And that was with the Dolphins,
seasons.
right?
Yeah, a bunch of 40 and 50 catch seasons. So you had 2 guys there that were a lot of potential and for various reasons just never panned out beyond their one breakout season.
Sure.
So kind of a funny story to tell you really quick. The year that Johnson broke out, you mentioned that he ended up really good in his rookie year, right? So he started out pretty decently in his second year, 2016, and in fantasy football, I scooped him up. And I guess one of the guys I was playing against was pissed off. Maybe he wanted him, pick him up off the waiver wire. So he labeled my team shiny pennies. Oh, you'll pick up any shiny penny, meaning the guy that just flashes for one week or whatever. As it turned out, he led me to like a second place finish. I finished in the money, and he had one of the better seasons of any running back that season.
Yeah.
So I renamed my fantasy team Shiny Pennies.
There you go. Shiny pennies.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to move on. We're going to stick to the kind of newsworthy stuff. Rashee Rice is I just thought this was interesting. Rashee Rice has been like the public figure for bad things for the past like few months.
Yeah.
Between the street racing and like injuring a bunch of people, alleged assault, which now I believe I read earlier today was dismissed, but that doesn't necessarily mean he didn't do it. They might have just given him hush money or something like that. Who knows? But like he's not doing well in the public eye. And this happened in previous years with the Chiefs with guys like Kareem Hunt. And
absolutely.
And I would argue that Kareem Hunt's little stint was less aggressive, I guess, than Rashee Rice, because Rashee Rice was like 100% he did something wrong. Whereas there was a lot of allegations around Kareem Hunt, and there was some stories about like, and there was footage about like the girl was kind of like harassing him, and he was like, you know, I have enough of this. And they kicked him off the team even for something like that, which really wasn't even like set in stone.
Yep.
Rashee Rice 100% did
what he was accused of doing.
What he was accused of doing, illegal things.
Yep.
And he's still working out with the team. Like, have the Chiefs changed their mindset around things like that? Do they just really need a good wide receiver? You know, like
I don't know what the whole thing is about. I will say, I firmly believe that the whole thing with Kareem Hunt derailed his career.
Sure.
This guy came out his rookie year and just exploded on the scene. And really, after that, he was a bit player in Cleveland. He never really got back to the form that what he was with the Chiefs, whether that was a good environment for him.
Sure. It didn't help that he was kind of a committee back with Nick Chubb over there. Of course. So like if he went to a team where he was the bona fide number one,
sure, maybe
he would have had a better career.
Right. But if that allegation doesn't happen, he's probably still the Chiefs lead back.
Yes. And he's a three-time Super Bowl winner.
Yeah. Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Isaiah Pacheco. I don't see either one of those guys. If Kareem Hunt stays with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Kareem Hunt was nuts. Maybe now he's starting to see carries to Pacheco, but he would have had a good 4 or 5 years in there where he was the number one man.
Yeah, Hunt was a way better running back than either of those guys.
Absolutely.
Especially Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yes.
Pacheco's a good running back, but
Hunt has everything. He was a runner, a receiver.
Yeah, Hunt was really good.
He had so much talent, and I really think that allegation, if it didn't derail his career, it certainly set him back.
It helped.
No doubt.
Yeah, it definitely helped. So it's just interesting to see like the Chiefs, they took like the professional approach where it's like, we don't even want to deal with it. Just cut him from the team. He's one of the best running backs in the league. I don't even care. Let's cut him from the team. And they're taking a completely different approach with a guy who's not really a difference maker like Kareem Hunt was.
So I don't want to get political here, and I certainly don't want to step on anybody's social mores, but what Kareem Hunt did was done kind of at the advent of the hashtag Me Too sort of
thing. This is true. So they
Chiefs
wanted to like, we don't want anything to do with that.
Conservative approach.
That's fair.
And again, I don't want to get political, but I have a feeling that they
might have just wanted nothing to do with it.
The same thing that Ray Rice.
Sure.
But Ray Rice
was way
clearly
worse.
Of what he did.
Yeah.
There's video.
But no, you're right.
Showing him
similar idea. Just
laying out.
Don't even care what the facts are. Don't want anything to do with it.
Sure. Yeah, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds with that.
But you're right.
But we're talking about Rashee Rice, and what really makes me scratch my head is he is already under felony investigation for all of these for the
speed
wreck,
racing,
yeah,
right?
for the wreck that he caused or the wreck he was involved in. Let's put it that way. Wouldn't you think he would keep his head down
lay low.
and try and lay low? This guy, in my opinion, this clown, in my opinion, was slated for 85, 1,200, and double-digit touchdowns.
Yeah,
coming
into this year, yeah.
Next year, absolutely.
Yeah,
and those type of numbers get you Tyreek Hill kind of money.
Yeah, sure.
And
it
also,
doesn't even matter if you're not as good as Tyreek Hill because Pat Mahomes is doing it for you.
Pat Mahomes is throwing to you.
So he'll make you better.
I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I doing here, right? So, by the way, I already have one ring on my finger. I could put another 3 or 4 on my fingers by the time Mahomes is done.
Yep, exactly.
And be one of the highest paid receivers in the game if I play my cards right.
Yeah.
But
I'd rather street race and beat people up.
This knucklehead. I'm going to go out to clubs and get in fights with people. And
Yeah,
I
really
don't know what's
stupid.
wrong with these knuckleheads.
He's an Xavier Worthy fan because he wants to hand the reins over to him. I guess.
Apparently. And we'll talk about
We'll
him
talk
in a little
about
bit.
him in a little bit. But yeah, so I
Look,
thought that was very
I'm not
silly.
going to judge anybody. I don't know the facts of the whole thing, but
But he's making dumb
it's
decisions.
really a bad look.
Clearly,
It's
he's making some
really-
dumb decisions.
Yeah, definitely.
And he's young, but there's plenty of young players that don't make those
that
dumb
aren't,
decisions.
right.
You know, like
Yep.
there's classy players. Joe Burrow came in the league. He's not doing any of that crap. Pat Mahomes isn't doing any of that crap. You know, a lot of these guys are
absolutely.
young and they still have like they're still humble, right? Like
Look at Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, and
They're not
that's
doing
a
this
wide
shit.
receiver. You know what? They talk smack on the field, but they back it up, and that's all they do.
Yeah, right.
They're not getting involved in this junk.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So enough about that. Let's move on. We're gonna do a segment that we've been that we did a few weeks ago, and it's gonna be a recurring segment until we can get through all the teams. So this is gonna be successful seasons for the NFC East. So what a successful season would look like for each of these teams in that division. So what would a successful season look like for the Cowboys in 2024?
The Cowboys are an enigma,
They are.
wrapped in a puzzle, surrounded by a challenge. Okay. I have a successful season for the Cowboys, in my opinion. Clearly not for Jerry Jones or anybody on the Cowboys, is status quo. Just winning the East again
Interesting.
would be successful for them.
So I have a similar, something similar,
I think-
which is just winning a playoff game.
I don't even have them doing that.
Oh my gosh!
Because
well, if
I think
they
they
take
lost
the
some
division, I
talent.
feel like they gotta win a playoff game. Like, come on, you're that good to win the division. You got to win a playoff game.
But that would have been a successful season last year.
I know, and they got smoked.
Crushed by the Packers.
They got destroyed.
They lost talent on the offseason. If I'll give you $1 if you can name me their starting running back for the season.
Who?
Dallas. Who's their starting running back?
This upcoming year?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh, they got him back.
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
But until they signed him, you probably couldn't guess.
Okay. We'll circle back to him a little bit
sure, we
later,
will.
and I'll tell you why I still want to know who their starting running back
It's
is.
true. That's fair.
So they lost Tony Pollard, and 2 years before that, they lost Ezekiel Elliott,
Yep.
who's clearly on a decline. Michael Gallup is gone, and they're all getting a little bit older.
Sure.
And
Dak is basically just Tony Romo 2.0. He can't win playoff games.
yeah,
He's unbelievable in the regular season.
give me 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns and just choke in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Boom.
No, he's a good quarterback,
Boom,
and they're
boom, boom.
usually a good team.
Yeah.
They just can't do anything in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
and absolutely. And what's his name is one of the best wide receivers on the planet.
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, he's nuts.
One of the best wide receivers. But look, the Cowboys think they're going to win the Super Bowl every year.
The Cowboys
Start with
fans.
Cowboys fans and the Cowboys. Jerry
true.
Jones is like, we got the team to win it.
Yeah.
Win a playoff game first, and then
They have
come chat.
fewer playoff wins than they how many do they have in the last, I don't know, 10 years?
I know for
Probably
a
like
fact
2
they
or
beat
3.
us
They did,
once.
but they have like 3 playoff wins or something like that in the last 10 years.
Yep.
It's kind of crazy. Anything more on that?
Nope, Cowboys
All
are
right,
done.
Cowboys are done. Giants. Yeah, I know.
You're gonna laugh when I
so-
tell you what I think they're
What does a successful season for the New York Giants look like in 2024?
getting a top 3 draft pick.
That's actually really funny. That's really funny.
They look, there's no reason for them to win 6 or 7 games because they're going to be draft number 10, 10, 11, 12 or
Yeah.
whatever. You might as well look, they lost Saquon Barkley.
They picked up Malik
Danny-
Neighbors, but like
They did, but Daniel Jones is clearly not the answer.
no, I have that written down. Daniel Jones is going to be out of New York in the next 2 years.
Definitely. And they spent so much money on him and he hasn't
It's
produced.
really wild.
They lost who could be a top 5 running back in a healthy season.
Sure.
Malik Neighbors is still a rookie.
Yeah. Clearly going to be one of the
Who
better
else?
receivers, hopefully.
Who else do they have catching the ball, running the ball?
Yeah, I think
their
Darius
offense is
Slayton is that his
who's,
name?
who's a distant wide receiver 3 in my opinion.
They might. Do they have Kenny
Oh.
Galladay still? I don't think so.
Oh God, I think they cut him a couple
no.
years ago. So I think a successful season for them is getting a top 3 draft pick and praying to God that a Jaden Daniels comes out of the woodwork for them and they can draft a legit quarterback.
They need someone to throw the ball to Malik
They
Neighbors.
really do.
So I didn't go as creatively as you did. I basically said if they could go so successful, when I think of successful, I'm thinking like for the fans. What will the fans appreciate?
I think a top 3 draft pick.
Sure.
More so
Sure,
than
they would.
8 and 9 season.
But I was going to say, yeah, so I didn't think that way when I was writing this down, but we have friends that are Giants fans. So I'm thinking like, all right, what would they be happy with? An 8 and 9 season, watch them win a couple of games, that would be fun. I believe now that I hear your take on it, it's probably truer than mine.
Because they're
they're in this
in
weird
my
spot.
opinion.
They're in this weird spot where they're not good, but they're also not in a rebuild mode. They're just average. They're like the epitome of average in the NFL. They're not good enough to actually get anywhere, but they're also not rebuilding. They're not doing anything to rebuild their team.
But they weren't average last year. They were below average.
They were bad.
And they lost arguably their best player.
True. But
So-
they're not doing enough to rebuild. They're
agree.
like, yeah, we're gonna stick with Daniel Jones, and like, no, that's not rebuilding. You're just staying stagnant and being bad.
So Malik Neighbors is a good start.
Yeah.
So we know rookie wide receivers, I'm not going to say they don't pop. Puka Nakua last year, heck, Anquan Bolden way back when, Jamar Chase. Their rookie receivers will ball out, no doubt. But that's usually done with an established quarterback like a Matt Stafford, like a Joe Burrow. So
Not Daniel Jones.
Not Daniel Jones.
No.
So he's going to have a year of stunted growth, I think, in that offense.
Potentially.
In my opinion.
I think you're right. All right. What does a successful season look like for the Eagles in 2024?
In my opinion, the Eagles need to survive their late season demise in 2023 because through week 10 or 11, they were looking at the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
And then they got their butts spanked in the playoffs first round by, who was it, Tampa Bay? No, it wasn't Tampa Bay.
I think it was Tampa Bay.
Oh, they were up here and didn't gradually
They lost
decline.
like 5 of their last 6 games.
They lost to our backup quarterback, for heaven's sake.
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
So
not only our backup, but Drew Lock.
Drew
who is
Lock.
not a good backup.
Yeah. So my thought for a successful season for them is to figure out what the hell went wrong.
Yeah.
And not let it happen again.
Sure.
So don't forget, they were like 10-1 or whatever they were. They didn't even win their division last year. The Cowboys stole it from them in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
My thought is the Eagles have to figure out what the hell happened.
Yeah. Why'd they lose the locker room and what all that stuff?
Yeah, and not let it happen again, because I think their offense specifically has so much talent.
Oh, crazy talent.
That they can win if their defense doesn't even show up. They're still good enough to win. But
and they did a decent job of rebuilding their defense a little bit in the draft.
They made some. They made 2
Great,
cornerbacks.
yes,
Yeah,
great picks.
They made some excellent picks on defense, and they have Jalen Carter that they got for a steal last year because the Seahawks went cornerback.
Yeah,
that's working out okay for us. But
sure.
The bottom line is that if they can figure out what the hell happened,
yep,
I think they are going to be back. I'm not going to say they're going to be 14-3, but they certainly could be
really good.
Yeah, they certainly could have 12 wins and be fighting for that number 1 or number 2 seed with San Francisco.
That's fair. So I'm taking a different, more, let's say, risky approach. They have a very similar team still. Maybe not their defense so much, but their Super Bowl run, they still have a very similar team.
Mm-hmm.
I have the same mentality as they need to get their groove back and figure out what the hell happened. If they can gain back like the winning mentality and not have so many problems in the locker room where people are just like, whatever, I'm just cashing in and like giving up. They should, their successful season, if they can get back to that point, is Super Bowl or bust, in my opinion, because they were like,
that good.
They were that good. Like they were a few plays away from winning the Super Bowl.
They were.
They were actually one play away from, getting the ball back and driving down the field and winning the Super Bowl. So but again, that's with the caveat of like, they have to get the mentality back.
Yep.
If they
So
don't,
we're in a similar.
if they don't, they're probably not going to make it past the second round of the playoffs, if
we're
not the first round.
Similar
of the playoffs.
vein is that they got to figure out their mojo.
Yep. But if they don't go to the Super Bowl, that's an unsuccessful season for them, in my opinion. All right, last one. Should be a fun one. What does a successful season look like for the Commanders in 2024?
So I have my note here says, I don't even care what their record is.
I agree.
Keeping Jaden Daniels healthy behind what was clearly the most atrocious offensive line last year. We had 60 some odd sacks for Mr.
Sam
Howell, right? And letting him gel in a new offense. So we are in a rebuilding year with a rookie quarterback. Let's get him comfortable in the offense. And I don't care if we lose 14 games. Let's keep him healthy. Let's not let him get sacked 65 times.
Yep.
And
which he can help a little bit because he's very mobile.
Yeah, we thought that with Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson ran into a lot of sacks. So
I would argue Jaden Daniels is probably a better runner.
Wilson. But will he process in the pros
pocket presence,
the way he processed in college?
Good point.
Still remains to be seen behind a really stinky offensive line. So if you're coming in and you're maybe behind the Packers line, you got maybe that extra second to process through your reads. Jaden Daniels, who is a running quarterback in college as well, might be looking to break the pocket maybe a little bit sooner. In the fashion of maybe a Justin Fields,
but as a better passer.
Coaches have come out and said Justin didn't go through all of his reads, and he broke the pocket and decided he wanted to run.
Yeah, that's fair.
So my thought is Jaden Daniels is going to be a stud. They got to keep him healthy this year, though.
Yes. So I'm on the same page with you, but for me, again, doesn't matter what their record is. The main thing that I think will make their season successful is if Jaden Daniels shows that he can play in the pros. If obviously withstanding like you said, if he gets sacked 65 times, like that's not a good example of whether or not he's good in the pros. But if they can keep him upright, I want to see 3,000 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, and 300 to 400 yards rushing.
Oh, I would go even higher. I'd go
probably.
I
was a little conservative.
500 or 600 on that.
I was a little conservative with that just because I don't know quite how good he is yet. I'll take 300 to 400 yards out of him rushing as a rookie. I'll take it.
I think as a running quarterback, he's gonna the first year, in my opinion, he might default to that.
To running. He might run for a lot of yards because he does it by default. Yeah. He breaks the pocket early.
Because he doesn't go through all his reads or he doesn't trust himself to throw a receiver open. He might just say, screw it, I can get 10 yards on this. So I'm thinking almost close to 600.
All right.
So let's say
rushing. 3,000 to 3,500 yards, at least 20 touchdowns.
I'm going to say
25.
He's got 5 to 8 rushing touchdowns because when you get down, they really don't have a goal line offense.
No,
right?
But at the same time, we are kind of now treading into this is a great season from a rookie. So I don't know if I want to see 3,500 yards and 28 total touchdowns and 600 yards rushing.
I don't think it's
that's not out of the question.
No.
But outside of that, even if it wasn't as good as that, I still think it's successful.
Season.
I still think it's successful because the numbers that you're throwing out right now is that guy's freaking good. That's a great rookie season.
I think he is that good.
He might be.
I think his team around
I don't
him,
think his team is quite good enough to allow him to do that. We'll see. 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 400 to 500 yards rushing, I would say would be successful because that shows promise.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right. That wraps up that segment. we're gonna jump into a segment now that you came up with. So this is the over, under, and why for the little prop bets.
Let me scroll down.
Yeah. So I kind of threw it into the middle of my notes.
Yeah, you did.
I wasn't sure where you had it in yours, but
I had it under mini games, but
oh, you had it under mini games. Okay.
Yeah, I just stuck it in
so
a wild card.
Explain what this is.
So this is something that we will probably continue to do throughout the season.
And you want these to be quick, or do you want them to be like more?
It's gonna be a. Why do you think it's gonna be your pick and maybe a sentence
A little bit of why. You think.
why?
Okay,
Right. As we get into the season, we'll start talking about this stuff because DFS and
all that stuff. Yeah.
I don't want to give any free props out to any companies, but rhymes with snap things.
Sponsor us.
Yeah. So they already have NFL stuff since the schedule came out. They have NFL stuff out there.
Yep.
So over under is always a fun kind of thing, especially at the beginning of the year. Granted, by the time we're done with OTAs, by the time we're done with training camp, who pulls an ACL, who
sure.
Who
those will dramatically change.
Yeah, those will dramatically change.
But regardless, so we're going to talk about some prop bets throughout the season that are going to be.
We're going to start with our boys, the Seahawks. Over under wins 7.5.
Yeah, I'm going over.
I'm going over as well.
But not a super confident over, only because anything could happen with this completely new coaching staff.
Of course.
I'm going over with some hopefulness.
So I would have bet the under the last 2 years, and yet we won 9 games both seasons.
And made the playoffs one season. With essentially the same cast of characters and probably a lot of upgrades from signing people and drafting. Yep.
So, and we don't have a very difficult schedule. Now, granted, we play the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Jets.
But our average opponent from last year is I believe it's like a 0.43 win percentage or something like that. So it's under 500.
That's what I'm thinking.
The average of all of our opponents is under 500.
Yeah.
We kind of got thrown a lucky, kind of easier schedule.
And I think some of our tougher games are either after the bye or after like a 10-week layoff where we've had a Thursday game and then we get to play a Sunday game. So I'm thinking
definitely over.
Does the new coaching staff lose us a game?
Oh yeah,
I'm thinking that because we won 9.
Yeah,
I'm thinking
we have a very similar team.
Even can we scrape 8? I think we can scrape 8.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so Lions wins 10.5. Do they come up with that 11th win?
I didn't check their schedule at all, so this might.
Their schedule is going to be harder than last year because they won their division and they were a good team last year. So,
but I think they're one of the best teams in the league, so I'm going to go over.
I'm going to go over. I see them getting that number 11.
Yeah, they're freaking good, man.
That's what I think. Good. So, how about Matt Stafford over 4,000 yards passing?
Matt Stafford's in the process of figuring out when he's going to retire, and he doesn't want to retire yet. So I'm going over on the 4,000 yards because I think he's going to, between Nakua, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, he has the weapons, and I think Stafford's got just that extra oomph this year where he's like, I want to go out and win freaking 12 games this year, 13 games. I think he's going to go over 4K yards.
I'm with you.
I can't see Matthew Stafford throwing for under 4,000 yards because I'm just so used to him throwing for 4,000 yards.
Yep.
But
now, something I will bring up,
especially this
and
year.
all y'all know about this, you get banged up for 2 games, your 4,000 yard season might be out. You might get 3,800.
Even with his age, Stafford is not one to usually get banged up. He gets banged up, but he doesn't not play because of it.
He did 2 years ago.
He did 2 years ago.
And they missed the playoffs and they were terrible.
But this past year, he freaking dislocated his thumb and he was still playing.
He balled out.
So I'm going over 4K yards for him.
I'm with you on that. So how about this one? And I thought this was really low in my opinion, unless they're figuring he's going to get hurt. Joe Burrow, for 4,050 yards?
I don't think
over
they.
under?
I don't think they're factoring in him getting hurt. Because why would you have him throwing for 4,000 yards at all if he's going to get hurt? Like,
But
that's a lot.
on a healthy season,
He's
isn't
throwing
he a lock?
4,500, 4,600.
Especially Joe Mixon out of town, who's your running back now.
Yeah.
T. Higgins playing for a contract and Jamar Chase just getting better every year. Granted, they lost Tyler Boyd, but
Jamar Chase had a great season without Joe Burrow last year. He's coming back. He's probably
exactly.
even better this year.
so I'm thinking like Joe Burrow throws for 4,000 in his sleep.
In his sleep,
if
yeah.
if he's
This was an
healthy.
interesting one, so I'm going with the over.
Yeah.
This is barring injury, of course, but
Naturally. But that's the thing. If you're laying money,
sure.
you got to worry
gotta
about
hope,
that.
yeah.
Like I said, you missed 2 games. That's
Yeah.
roughly 600 yards on it for a good quarterback.
So it obviously you're going to lose your money if he gets hurt, right?
Exactly.
But the integrity of the pick is like it doesn't factor in injury. You're not like, oh, well, he got injured. So it's like, dude, it's Joe Burrow. He's going to throw for like 4,600 yards in a
and
season
you would have
if he doesn't
taken
get-
that last year, and you would have lost.
and you would have lost
'Cause he was
But
hurt
the
all
integrity
year.
of the pick still stands.
I
If he doesn't get hurt,
understand.
I'm still taking it.
I understand.
Every day.
Is he completely recovered from
We'll
the
see.
ankle injury, that
We'll
type
see.
of thing?
Oh, and the thumb injury too.
and the thumb injury, right?
Yeah,
So Josh Allen, this was really
this is really interesting.
And I didn't realize Stephon Diggs, the loss of Stephon Diggs really played that much. Josh Allen, 3,700 yards?
Yeah, and I'm going crazy. I'm
You're
going
going
under
under?
because I think the loss of Stephon Diggs.
Wow.
I don't think Keon Coleman is quite as good as Stephon Diggs,
And he's a rookie. Yep.
And I think Josh Allen's basically going to do what you were saying Jaden Daniels is going to do, which is he's like, I have Curtis Samuel on my team. Like he's my second option. I'm not even going to bother looking for him. I'm just going to run the ball.
You're going-
I think Josh Allen. This might be crazy, but Josh Allen might run for like 800 yards this season
That's
because
possible.
he just doesn't want to
And
throw
10
the ball.
touchdowns at least.
Because his failsafe was Stephon Diggs.
Oh, yeah.
He could just throw to Diggs whenever
Don't
he wanted
forget,
to.
he's got 2 stud tight ends over there. Did those guys go off?
Maybe.
Because they're
Maybe.
the,
But I'll be a
another
little-
160 targets
Sure.
go
But
go around. or
I'll be a
whatever.
little crazy and say he's going under 3,700
All
yards.
right.
Maybe just
All right.
barely, but I'll go under.
I gotcha. All right, Garrett Wilson over 1,200 yards.
I think they have a pretty decent amount of weapons over there. So I think he might go under 1,200 yards, even if Aaron
Even
Rodgers.
with Aaron
is-
Rodgers.
Yes. Even with Aaron Rodgers, because I think Rodgers is going to flesh the ball out a little bit.
I'm with you. I think that they do have, and now you add Mike Williams into that equation,
Mm-hmm.
and Brees Hall, who's a great running back.
Yep.
1,200 yards. I mean, Wilson is certainly capable of it,
Yeah,
no doubt.
definitely.
But does he get the opportunity to pull 1,200 yards? And let's remember something. Aaron Rodgers has not been on the field for 2 years.
Basically. Well,
Does
a year and a half, I think.
does that? Well, he got hurt.
Did he get hurt at the end of the season with the Packers?
No, but he missed all of last year. He played like 4 downs last year.
Yeah.
So this is going to be like he missed an entire year,
Yeah.
and it's not like he's a 24-year-old quarterback.
Yeah, this is true.
So
And it's an Achilles injury.
and it's an Achilles injury, and what's killer is that the Jets' offensive line has sucked for a while.
True.
If you
They did take Fashanu for
Yes.
they took Fashanu, so that's a good upgrade. But
Agreed.
we've yet to see if they're good yet.
but you can get away with an average offensive line if you got somebody that can scramble. Like
And he might
and
not be able
he's-
to scramble anymore.
He's probably his best scrambling days are behind him.
Yeah.
How about Brock Bowers for over 650 yards receiving?
I'm gonna go with a similar mindset as I did when I was talking about him being a rookie pop or flop in fantasy. If Gardner Minshew is the starter, he's going over 650. If he's not, he's going under.
Okay. All right. I'm going under. They have a really good other tight end over there. They still have Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers.
But why take Brock Bowers if you're gonna?
Because
if
I
you're gonna
think Brock
split
Bowers
time?
might have 200 or 300 yards rushing like Debo
That's true.
Samuel.
That's fair. That's fair.
This was a really odd one to me. Travis Kelce over 900 yards.
So all of a sudden he has one down season, and it's like,
But
oh,
the
he's
down
not.
season
Was
is
still almost 1,000 yards.
yeah, it was one catch away from 1,000
Yeah.
yards, and now you think he's
Now it's
going to
like, oh,
lose
he's going
100.
under. Yeah, right. No.
Granted, he's not 25. He's getting
He's still
over
the
30.
best tight end in the league, though.
I-
And he's got even if he's
900.
not the best tight end in the league, he still has Pat Mahomes throwing. to him.
Yes.
So you got to bet over on him
900 yards
until
Wow.
he shows actual regression.
Yes.
I'm going over.
You can't guess he's going to regress.
No.
That's just the way I think.
Nope,
Of it.
you cannot.
I think he's going over 1,000 and maybe 1,100.
Yeah, agreed. All right, cool. So we're gonna skip around a little bit here.
All right, what do you got?
This was an article that I read the other day that piqued my interest. Let's talk about who the top 5 wide receiver cores in the NFL are.
Okay.
I'll give mine and then you give yours.
Sure.
And I don't think we need to really explain ourselves because
Okay.
people know why certain, they
Yeah.
know this guy's good. They know that guy's good. It doesn't have to be like,
Sure.
we don't have to go in
And
depth.
we already know we're going to get feedback from you guys
Sure.
because you're homers,
Comment.
your home
Yep.
teams, and
Comment below.
And look, we look at the stats, we look at the opportunity, we look at the scenario, we look at all that,
Yep.
and we're still making our picks.
Yeah.
So
So I'm going number 5. I think the Seahawks.
number 5.
Yeah, number 5. I'm
starting
going,
lower
you're starting
and-
low and going up.
okay.
Yep. Number 5 is Seattle. DK, JSN, and Tyler Lockett.
Well, that's not a duo. Oh, core.
Core.
Gotcha.
Core. Wide receiver. You did duos.
I really stuck to duos.
All right. So
Okay.
that's
okay.
That's cool
that's
actually
fine.
because now we're gonna have two completely different
Yep.
lists. I think.
Did you include tight ends in there? Or
No. Wide
Okay, just
wide receiver
receivers.
course. Yeah.
Okay.
So number 5 for me, Seattle Seahawks. DK, JSN, and Tyler Lockett, who
Okay.
probably still has one more good year left in him. This is this could be seen as a reach. But also I believe the article that I read had Seattle at number 5 as well.
Okay.
And I agreed with that. So I'm going Seattle at number 5. 49ers, number 4. Ayuk, Debo, and Juwan Jennings, who is kind of an underrated wide receiver. He's clutch. He's not going to put up crazy numbers, but he's actually a pretty decent receiver. And Ayuk and Debo are good enough to carry the rest of the load as well to kind of prop them up into that number 4 spot, I think. The Dolphins at number 3, Tyreek, Waddle, and Odell, who is probably washed.
Forgot he signed with them.
But there still could be some promise there with Odell. He's going to be a fine third receiver more than likely. And Tyreek and Waddle are amazing.
Yep.
So that's number 3. Number 2, the Bears. The Bears, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, and DJ Moore. That's kind of a sick trio, to be honest. I think they're going to be really good.
That's insane. And I completely misunderstood your the intent of this conversation.
Really?
Because I only took duos.
Yep. So
Unfortunately.
number 2, man, Bears. I never expected to say that the Bears have one of the best wide receiving cores in the league, but they
Absolutely.
do. And finally, number 1, I think maybe you could probably guess this one.
I'm gonna go. Well, I got 3 that you haven't listed yet.
Yeah. So number 1, the Texans have the best wide receiver core in the league. Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell. They're the best in my opinion.
Dang. Okay.
So let's get a different perspective on this now. This is cool.
Throwing that third receiver in there
It completely changes everything.
Completely changes the dynamics of
Yes.
mine because
But this is cool. I like this.
I
So
only
this
went
is a
with the
new
top
segment
2.
now. New segment, everyone. Best duos in the league.
we are not on the same page.
No, not at all. So what are your top 5 duo wide receivers
I
in
got
the league?
Jefferson and Addison at number 5.
Wow, really?
At number 5, yes. I think clearly Jefferson, when he's healthy,
Best receiver in the league.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Addison last year just definitely stoked as a rook and
Yeah.
was really fantastic.
Number 4.
Number 4,
Tampa Bay.
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
Okay.
T. Higgins, when he's not bitching and moaning or when he's not hurt, is good for an 85, 1,100, and 6 or 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's a very good number 2.
Number 3, Puka and Cup.
Oh, yeah.
and of course, this all goes without saying, they got to be healthy.
And we also didn't really see a whole lot of Puka and Cup at the same time.
Because Cup was hurt for a lot of the beginning of the season.
So, but I can't imagine they're bad or worse than when Cup's not on the field.
Correct. So number 2, I have AJ Brown and Devonta Smith.
Yeah, they're sick. The only reason I don't have them on my list is because
There's no third. There's no third.
Yeah,
Correct.
non-existent.
And for number 1, I have Tyreek and Waddle.
Yeah, they're sick.
So honorable mention to DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, 200 catches, 2,500 yards combined last year. But they haven't played together yet.
This is true.
And I don't know who's number 1 there. In all the other ones, Tyreek is number 1, Waddle's 2. AJ Brown is 1, Devonta's 2. Cup is number 1, Puka's 2.
Somehow.
Maybe. Hey, Puka, when you catch me 145 for 1,900 yards, talk to me.
That's true.
Jamar Chase, number 1, Higgins 2.
Yeah.
Right? Jefferson, number 1, Addison 2.
Yep.
Where is Allen and DJ Moore going?
Not really
where
sure.
are they going?
Yeah, we're not
because
really sure.
their stats were so similar last year. So you and I took a little different tack on that. I think I misunderstood the intent of
that's cool. I like
question,
the different perspectives is cool.
Yep.
All right. So that gets that out of the way then. So duos versus trios. Yeah. All right. Moving on. We're going to do overrated, underrated running backs all time.
All right.
So overrated, underrated running backs all time. We're going to start with Jerome Bettis.
Okay. I looked at his rushing yards per season, and they were amazing.
Yes.
However,
His touchdowns, not so much.
not only his touchdowns, but I almost feel like he was a bit of a compiler.
Really?
He only had a 3.9 yard career average.
He ran for 1,000 yards every season on average.
Yeah, but he also ran
'Cause he
for
had
like
13
275 times.
True.
So
That's fair.
So he ran for 1,000 yards 8 times. He had a few other that were just that close. He wasn't much of a receiver either.
No.
13,600 career yards
In 13 seasons.
Yeah, like so I don't know if he's overrated or underrated. He was a guy you could give the ball to 28 times a game, every game.
Yeah.
And he was going to get you 4 yards a carry.
Yeah.
He was I won't say he was a plotter, but
He was the bus.
he was the bus. But I don't know if he was overrated, underrated. I know his stats are really good, but if you're an all-time great, I want that average to be over 4.0.
Yeah.
You got to
That's fair.
average 4 yards a carry.
So I have
and
him as...
for 10 years he didn't, or 13 years he didn't.
Yeah. So I have him as properly rated because
Yeah,
I never
yeah.
really hear him as like, oh, Jerome Bettis was so good.
Correct.
He's good. He's fine.
Yep.
Most people wouldn't put him up there as like a top 15 running back all
he had
time.
a very good long career as a running back. 13
Yeah.
seasons is a lot.
But no one would mistake him for being like a dominant running back.
Yeah, no Barry Sanders, no Derrick Henry, no Walter Payton, right?
So and also didn't even have 100 touchdowns in his career.
Right.
In 13 seasons, you better have over 100 touchdowns,
Yeah,
especially
and
as a guy who's supposed to be a goal line back. He's enormous.
That's right.
He should have had 10 touchdowns a season. I saw some years in there where he had 5.
Yeah,
like,
coming
dude,
coming
you're the
at
bus.
you at 240 or whatever. You better be running
freaking
people
huge.
over and
Yeah.
scoring.
Right. All right. Next up. This one is so fun for me because I never got to watch him, but I've listened to him on podcasts and stuff, and I thought he was really funny. Maurice Jones-Drew. MJD. The forgotten running back, I think. The forgotten NFL player. I don't think I know of a single human being who has ever mentioned the name Maurice Jones-Drew to me in person. Any friends or anyone that has ever said like, oh, you ever watched, MJD highlights or anything like that? No, he's just like forgotten. So I'm going underrated for him because he had a few actually really nice seasons and he had one really good season over 1,600 yards.
Yep.
And then even his rookie year, he didn't quite have 1,000 yards. He almost did, but he had 13 touchdowns.
Yep. So I have him listed. The notes I have a bit like Sean Alexander in that he had 3 awesome seasons and a few other really good ones. But he only played like 8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
And some of the ones that he played, they were...
Yeah.
The years he was good, he put up really good TD numbers, and his receiving numbers were fantastic.
Yeah.
He was a true 3-down back.
Yeah, dual threat.
So I think I'm with you. I'm underrated. My only problem with him is that he didn't last very long.
No
he was very much
longevity,
like,
yeah.
he wasn't, but he played on the Jaguars, and he was like trying to tackle a bowling ball. He was like 5'9" and 225 pounds or whatever. He was built like a bowling
beefy.
ball. Yeah.
Yeah, he was beefy.
So I'm
he was
going
round.
with you. He was underrated and really good for the years that he was really good.
Yep. All right, last up. Ezekiel Elliott, overrated or underrated? His bum's overrated. Nah, he's kind of a bum now, but he was really good for a few years.
From 2016 to 2021, his numbers were fantastic.
We're sick.
Over 1,000 yards 4 of those years, and he just missed the other 2, like 900 and something yards.
Yeah.
He had a bunch of double-digit TD seasons, plus the sucker can catch passes.
This is true.
Over 45 receptions 5 of the last 6 years. The last 2 years, he definitely looks like he lost a step or 2.
Yeah.
He's really a plodder now.
Yeah.
Like you put him in at the goal line and let him get his 2 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah. I believe he led the Patriots in touchdowns last season.
I think he did. So fun fact about Zeke Elliott, his yards per game has gone down every year of his 8-year career.
Wow.
Yards per game.
Yeah.
So
I believe
he
it.
started out up here, and his trend
just goes
has
down.
not done anything but straight down.
Yeah. His rookie year was
So-
unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. And he had a couple other really good seasons in there.
Yeah.
So-
So I'm going. It's a little tough because I don't think anyone nowadays really sees him as like, oh, that guy's.
I still
freaking
think
good.
he's overrated.
He's a little overrated.
I think he's a little overrated.
He should have been a generational running back. Like he really should have been, and he didn't have the longevity to be. So I'm going overrated. For
I
Zeke,
would say,
but not a
little
hard
bit-
overrated.
I would say a little overrated.
He's a little
myself.
overrated. Yeah.
Yep.
Which sucks because he was really fun to watch.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
really good. All right, moving on. Last 2 segments of the episode. We're gonna do where did he go to college?
Another one.
Yep, another one.
Another challenge.
All right. The first one.
These are obviously getting harder.
No, this one's not
6
harder.
out of 7
I tried to
is
make
going to
it-
be tough for me
I tried to make
match.
it a little easier this time than last week because I knew
Okay.
that last week was a little crazy. But the first one also might be a little challenging. JJ Watt. Where did JJ Watt go to college?
I got to say Wisconsin like his brother.
Yep, he did.
Yeah.
He actually went to Wisconsin and Central Michigan, but he transferred from Central Michigan. So I had written both.
Okay.
And if you would have
you
said either one.
You finally went back and looked at, because 2 or 3 times you called me out on that.
And
was
I
like,
messed up.
where'd they graduate from?
I messed up. But then I looked up like their stats from college and I made sure to find the
That's
the
where
college
they
graduated
graduated from.
from. All right, ready? This one should be a softball. DeAndre Hopkins. Not a softball.
No.
I knew where he went to
not-
college before I even looked it up.
No, not a softball. Why don't I know where DeAndre Hopkins went to college? Oh,
Wow.
I'm screwed.
Oh, no. This should have been an easy one. I thought this was an easy one. You're going to be like, if I tell you, you're going to be like, I can't believe I forgot that.
Why?
All right, I'll give you one hint. I think, well, this might not be a hint because I don't remember. I think he won the national championship with them. Or maybe they won it a few years after.
He went to Clemson.
Yes. Did he win the national championship with them?
I don't think so.
But they won it a few years after. He
Probably,
graduated,
yes.
I'm pretty sure. Yes. He went to
Yes,
Clemson.
because he went with that other guy that washed out. He played with
Oh,
the Chiefs.
yes.
I have to
Oh
look
my
him
God.
up.
Yeah, I
can't
forget.
remember his
forget.
name, but
All right, ready? Kirk Cousins.
Michigan State.
You got
He
it.
was a Spartan.
All right. Robert Griffin III. RG3. Where'd he go to college?
Baylor.
You got it. Baylor. So you are 1, 2, 3, 4 for 4. Ezekiel Elliott.
The Ohio State.
Yep. I'm going to leave this one for last, actually. I'm going to skip over this one
Okay.
and go to a different one.
You're going to
So,
try and
six-
screw me on that
no,
7
no.
out of 7.
No. So number 6, Barry Sanders.
Okay, State.
Yep. This one is very hilarious, and I have notes on it. Where did Randy Moss go to college?
I want to say he went to Marshall.
Is that your final answer?
Marshall is my final answer.
7 for 7.
Oh, yes.
And he played 1 year at Marshall.
Did he really?
Year. He caught 90 passes for 1,600 yards and 25 touchdowns. And then he was like, I'm too good. I need to play professional football now.
Then he kept doing it in the pros.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
90 catches in college for 1,600 yards and 25 touchdowns. That's just ridiculous.
Randy Moss, I don't think he has as many years.
No, the longevity is probably not there to beat
Maybe
Jerry Rice.
like with definitely not Jerry Rice.
But in my opinion,
maybe not Larry Fitzgerald. Randy Moss got to be talked about in the top 3.
Randy Moss is probably the second best wide receiver ever.
Gosh.
Yeah.
He was ridiculous.
Yeah. Randy Moss is crazy.
7 out of 7.
There
baby!
you go. You got it. And do you remember where Randy Moss played before he played for the Patriots?
Well, he came up with the Vikings.
Yeah, but where did he play before he played with the Patriots? He didn't play with the Vikings before the Patriots. The team right before the Patriots.
Raiders.
Yep, he played for the Raiders.
He did.
And then
He made one of the greatest plays I've ever seen.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about. On the left-hand side of the sideline?
Yes, he caught the ball and was getting tackled and saw one of his teammates and just flipped it to him like on the 5 or 10 yard line.
Yeah.
And it
Pulled
was
the
like
Travis Kelce.
Yeah, and the dude took it in. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, and then Tom Brady was like, "You want to come play for us?" And win a
and
Super Bowl.
then he scored like 28 touchdowns that year or whatever.
Gosh, crazy.
Yeah.
All right, last segment. We're going to play some mini games. What do you got for mini games?
So, let's see. I have
You have a trivia?
I have a technically true, which is just a statement.
Oh, that's pretty fun.
2 truths and a lie, and a fun fact.
All
So
right.
it should be fairly quick.
So-
I have no trivia.
So let's do you first, and then we'll go back and forth.
Okay.
Do your technically true first.
Technically true. Frank Gore and Adrian Peterson are the only 2 running backs in the top 15 in yardage of all time that are not in the Hall of Fame.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Adrian Peterson's probably going to go to the Hall of Fame, but he hasn't technically retired yet. But Frank Gore has had enough time to go to the Hall of Fame, and he's not in there.
Negative. Neither one of them has had 5 years since they retired.
Oh, wait. Oh, Frank Gore. Frank Gore hasn't been out of the league for 5 years?
That's correct.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Adrian
I think
Peterson.
it was 2020.
Adrian Peterson,
think.
I was going to say, like, he's technically still like open to playing. So that makes sense why he's not. But I thought Frank Gore retired a while ago.
2020, I think he retired. So I think
Interesting.
he's eligible, or 2019, but he's eligible in
Still,
the
okay.
next 1 or 2
He'll
years.
probably he'll go to the Hall of
technically
Fame.
true.
Technically true, yeah. And I believe also I was reading this one earlier. Frank Gore, Adrian Peterson, Marshawn Lynch, and one more running back. I can't remember who it was. Are the only running backs to play in the 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s.
Frank Gore, I would definitely believe.
Yeah,
Marshawn Lynch,
Yep.
too.
Mm-hmm. I think he
Dang.
was just at the end of the early 2000s.
Wow.
And then the 2010s, and then when he re-signed with Seattle to retire
Oh, that's right.
to play like
That
one
might have been
game,
it, right.
he was and
It might have
obviously
been
Adrian Peterson.
It might have been the 2020.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Adrian Peterson played forever and still might play and
Yep.
run. Dude, he ran for 1,000 yards at like 35 with the Commanders
I
or
know.
whatever, something like that.
I know. What a garbage team.
Yeah. All right. So I have a 2 truths and a lie for you.
Ooh.
And I think this one's pretty good. Number 1, the third longest punt in history was kicked by Randall Cunningham.
That is true.
All right.
I watched it.
Did you?
I
Do
actually
you know
watched
how
it
long?
on TV.
Do you know how far it was?
It was 91 yards, if I'm not
It was
mistaken.
either 91 or 92.
Yeah.
It's freaking crazy.
So he kicked it like 60 yards in the air, and it just had this roll that just went on and on and on
And then
and on
stayed
and
in-
on and on
stayed
and
in
on
the-
and on. Yeah.
It didn't go
It was
into the end zone.
insane.
Oh,
It
that's
just kept
awesome.
rolling and rolling and rolling.
All right. Next up. So I guess we'll do one truth and one lie. Johnny Unitas and Dan Marino have the same middle name of Constantine. And the Browns have never had a quarterback win an MVP award.
Ooh, so you got Testaverde and Kozar would be the only Browns quarterbacks that could win an MVP award. And they were pretty good way back when.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm going to say the Browns have never had an MVP.
So you think that's true? You think the Browns have never had an MVP? That was the statement, was the Browns have never had a quarterback win an MVP award. You think that one's true, and you think the Johnny Unitas Dan Marino one is the lie?
Correct.
You would be wrong. The Browns had a quarterback win an MVP in 1980. It was Brian Sipes.
Brian Sipe won an MVP?
He did. And Johnny Unitas and Dan Marino have the same middle name of Constantine.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Brian Sipe won an MVP?
Yep.
Wait a minute. Was 1980 a strike year?
He passed for 4,100 yards and 30 touchdowns.
Dang, Brian Sipe. Why don't I remember this?
And he was a Pro Bowler in 1981. Yeah. Pro Bowl. player
Damn,
in
dude. That
1981.
was a good one.
Yeah.
Brian
How the
Sipe.
How the fuck is Johnny Johnny Constantine Unitas and Dan Constantine Marino? How does that work? Oh my gosh, what were they doing in the late 90s or in the late 1900s?
Damn.
All right, so now you got two truths and a lie.
I'll go
for me.
with two truths and a lie. So Joe Flacco has more career yards than Joe Montana and Johnny Unitas.
Okay.
Passing,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yep.
Only two teams have ever won the Super Bowl playing in their home stadium.
Okay.
And there has never been a 5,000-yard passer and a 2,000-yard rusher in the same season.
Okay. That is true. I'm gonna go with. So now I got to dissect the other two.
So Flacco has more career yards than Joe Montana and Johnny Unitas. And the other one was, so which one did you say was?
The last one I said was definitely true.
And only two teams have ever won the Super Bowl playing in their home stadium.
All right. I am going with that one being the lie. And I think it's a trick question because I'm pretty sure the only team to ever win a Super Bowl in their home stadium was Tampa Bay with Tom Brady. Am I wrong or am I right? I'm locking it in.
And then the following year was Matt Stafford.
They won in LA?
Uh-huh.
I don't remember them playing in LA. Oh, so I'm wrong.
So 2012.
Damn, dude. So the only two teams to ever win in their home stadium were back to back.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Uh-huh.
I did not realize that.
Yep.
I forgot, or maybe I just didn't know that they played in LA.
Yeah,
that year.
I
Oh
think
my
the crazy
gosh.
thing was that Tampa Bay was the first to do it with Tom Brady.
Yes.
And then it wasn't
And then it was just like
special anymore.
Yep, they did it afterwards. Yep.
But
Wow. So is it Flacco? That's the lie?
2012, Drew Brees, 5,100
Oh.
yards.
Wait, 2012 LT? No, LT did not go for 2,000 yards. Who was it? So I know.
You could go with initials if you wanted. AP.
Wow, the same year.
Same year.
Damn. That's pretty
5,000
nuts.
for a quarterback, 2,000 for a running back.
Yeah. So
Only season. So what was funny, if you look it up, Drew Brees had 4 or 5 years he threw for 5,000 yards.
yeah.
And in that span, it was like he did 5,000. Then the next year, someone ran for 2,000. Then he did 5,000, 5,000. Next year, somebody ran for 2,000.
And then both.
And then both. That was the only time. It was like,
So who ran for, was it the guy from the Ravens the one year?
yeah. And so you had Chris Johnson that ran for 2,000 the 1 year. And then above that, you had Drew Brees going 2 years. Then you had Chris Johnson. Then you had Drew Brees again. Then you finally
Then
had.
it was AP.
Yeah.
Okay. Who was the guy from the Ravens that ran for 2,000 yards?
Jamal Lewis.
So was he a part of that?
I think he was, no, he was a little bit before that.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I have a trivia question for you.
Okay.
In 1979, the Kansas City Royals drafted a player who would go on to be one of the most well-known NFL quarterbacks of all time. Was it Dan Marino or John Elway?
John Elway.
You'd be half correct.
John Marino?
They both got drafted by the Kansas City Royals in 1979.
They did?
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah. So it was a trick question. But yeah, both of them
So it would've
got
been
drafted
right either way.
in the same year. In the same year.
That's crazy.
They both got drafted by a baseball team.
Yeah, well,
my gosh.
you got arms like that.
I know.
Why not?
They're like, we
As a
want that guy
pitcher.
pitching for us. Yeah.
So the last thing, fun fact, Tom Brady has won more playoff games than all but 5 franchises. We might have talked about that before.
I don't think we have, but that doesn't surprise
all
me at
but
all.
5 franchises, more playoff games.
Do you have the 5 franchises listed?
No, but I could probably figure it out.
Yeah.
You would have
probably not like
San Francisco
Cowboys,
Steelers.
Steelers.
San Francisco Cowboys, Steelers. And the other 2, who would have been that? I would have to look up the other 2.
I wonder, what's funny is that I bet you the Patriots are one because I bet you Drew Bledsoe, because it's Tom Brady versus franchises, right? It's not Tom Brady versus, it's not his own franchise.
Oh, you might be
so
right.
it might be Patriots because Drew Bledsoe
And probably
probably
the
won a
Packer-
few.
maybe the Packers.
Maybe the Packers, yeah. So that's probably
I'd
those
have to
5.
look that up.
All right, cool. Wrapping
Dude,
things up.
Yeah, we went a lot longer than we thought we did.
we went over an
man. So
hour.
you guys,
you guys were spoiled this one.
To
Yeah.
us bullshit about nothing.
And we still had 2 other segments that we didn't even go over. So
True statement.
we'll save those for next time. But
Yeah.
we're going to sign off today. So Tommy Touchdowns
and Razorback Jack.
signing off. See you
Signing
next
off.
time. Peace. Thanks for listening to the Read Option Podcast, hosted by Tommy Touchdowns and Razorback Jack. Produced by me, Tommy Touchdowns. Remember to follow us on all our socials, including Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube, at the Read Option Pod.